Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the XiaoHongShu Marketing Bootcamp. Hopefully we are now live. So if you can hear me and you're joining us live, just quickly pop a message in the comments to let me know the tech is all working okay. So welcome to today's live stream. We're just getting started. I'm going to start our little countdown timer just so everyone's got a chance to join us. Our emails went out just a couple of minutes ago, so I'm just going to give everyone about 5 minutes to see their email and join us live. I can see a few people tuning in already, which is fantastic. If you are watching the replay, feel free to skip ahead about 5 minutes to get to the actual start time of the real webinar. For now, this is just a warm-up for everyone who's joining us live. Okay, and if you're tuning in, don't forget to just introduce yourself in the comments. So let us know where you're tuning in from. Let me know how everything's going in the bootcamp so far. I think most people probably joined us yesterday, but if you didn't, you can catch up with that later. Just let us know in the chat where you're at the moment in the bootcamp, how everything's going. Okay, we've got Daniel, first to join us. Yes, you are. First to join us, Daniel. Long day today, university online teaching, etc. Yes, I'm sure it's been a long day. That's great to hear that you've been able to make it and join us today, though. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's very busy for everyone. Awesome. Okay, we have ESL Simply Speaking saying hello. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you again. That's awesome. We've got Addie here commenting with nice to see you too. That's great. Let me know where you're tuning in from. It's always great to have an idea of who is joining us as well. Oh, I'm just adding Taipei, Taiwan again. Yes, I remember from yesterday. Awesome. It's actually not too far from me. I'm in Japan at the moment. You might be able to tell from the theme of the background. So Taiwan's not too far away from here. I think you're maybe an hour behind of us, time zone wise. But yeah, long day for me as well. So it's great to see you joining us too. Awesome. Got Bella tuning in. Hi, Bella. Thanks for joining us. Great to see you again. Fantastic. And Lisa, great to see so many familiar faces from yesterday's webinar and from our Facebook group too. So thank you everyone for joining us again. Angie as well. Hi there, Angie. Fantastic. And we've got here Storytime English Flying Kitty Stories. Let me know your name, by the way. If you're using a brand account on YouTube, just let me know who you are so I can address you a little bit more easily in the live. Yay, I caught a live. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Bella's from Greece. Fantastic. Stephanie tuning in from America. I'm not going to try and pronounce all of the American states. I don't know if you can tell from my accent. I'm originally from the UK, although I live at the moment in Japan. So I'm not very familiar with American geography. Apologies. Oh, we got another teacher tuning in from Greece. Great to see you. Fantastic. And Nigel again. Great to see you after yesterday's webinar from England. Actually sunny for once. Oh my goodness. Where are you in the UK that you've got sunshine? Great to hear. Hi there, Wendy from the Philippines. Awesome. People from all around the world joining us today. Awesome. Okay, I'm seeing a few more comments. Feel free to keep introducing yourself in the comments. It's always great to get to know each other before we get properly started. We've got about a minute and a half till we actually get properly started with the webinar. So if anyone who's tuning in needs to quickly grab a cup of tea to get settled, you've got a little bit of time. Any advice on how to get the app on my phone appreciated? Is there an app that can bypass Google Play? You should be able to download it directly from the Google Play Store. So if you go onto the Google Play Store and search for XiaoHongShu, the word's literally on screen right now. If you search for XiaoHongShu in the Google Play Store, it should come up. I downloaded it directly, so you can do that. If you're having issues downloading it, you should be able to download the APK file from the XiaoHongShu website somewhere. Or you can also use a Chinese app store. Like my phone is a Huawei phone, so it also came pre-installed with a Chinese app store, the Huawei app store. Don't know what phone you've got. I assume it's some kind of Android if you're using Google Play Store. But you might be able to find a Chinese kind of Play Store equivalent because Google Play Store is blocked in China because it's Google. which might work if you're having issues with the Google Play Store. But it should be available if you search in the Google Play Store. Okay. Oh gosh, lots of people tuning in. Thank you, everyone. Kristen from Canada, awesome. Melody again from America, great to see you again. Another teacher joining us from Portugal. Diane, great to see you again. Thank you for tuning in. And Lynn as well, tuning in for day 2. Okay, that is our timer up. So welcome everyone to today's XiaoHongShu Marketing Bootcamp. This is session 2 of the bootcamp. And it's great to see so many familiar faces from yesterday's session and from our Facebook group, and a few new faces too, which is always great to see. If you're new here and you missed the last bootcamp, which was yesterday, so the last bootcamp session, which was yesterday, don't panic. You can watch the replay later after today's live. It's always best to join live if you can. But you can watch the replay of yesterday's session. If you look in the links in the description below, you'll find a link to join the course, which is on the website, where you can find all the replays. Basically, it's free, so just sign up for free and you get the replay if you missed yesterday's session. Okay, let's jump right in because there's lots to get on with today. Our topic today is profile optimization. So last time we did a kind of quick intro to XiaoHongShu, understanding the demographics, understanding your target audience and how that fits into your overall marketing strategy. But now we want to really set up your account for success. And that is today's plan. So profile optimization. So just a quick reminder for anyone who's new, my name is Katie. Many people know me as the director of Abridge Academy, and I've also sort of been around a lot in many Facebook groups, so you may have seen me around. I've been an online teacher since 2013, and I'm also a qualified classroom teacher, originally from the UK, but teaching in Japan right now. I've also previously lived, studied, and taught in China before, so I've got a real insight into sort of Chinese parents, Chinese students, what kind of things they expect, how the education system works there. And a couple of years ago, I did a micro MBA from Shanghai Jiao Tong University, which again gave me some really great insights into how business and sales and marketing and things like that work within the Chinese culture, because it is very different to how things are done, particularly in the UK where I'm from, and I think also like in the US and many other countries too. So yeah, I got a really good insight from that into actually doing business with Chinese customers. And a couple of years ago in 2020, I co-founded a Chinese online ESL startup program, like tutoring program, and I had a lot of success with that, which was fantastic. And again, learned so much about how to advertise in China, how to build your network, how to build a real community of parents and of students who are really passionate about what you're teaching. And right now, I'm currently a classroom teacher. I also teach online. I sell curriculum, I sell courses, all kinds of things for online teachers. So if you're interested in the Abridge Academy curriculum or like our much more detailed marketing courses, which go to a much more advanced level on things, feel free to check out the Abridge Academy website if any of that is of interest. Okay, I'm not going to ramble too much about me because I think most people were here last time as well, so you probably already got a bit of an idea from that. So yes, as I was saying, today is session 2 of our 5-session bootcamp. Yesterday we had an introduction to XiaoHongShu. Today we're working on profile optimization, so making sure your profile is all set up for success. And then from tomorrow onwards, we're going to be working a lot on what to post, how to make sure your posts are reaching the right people and attracting the right audience through various strategies. So let me know in the comments how everything's going so far with the bootcamp and what you're most excited to learn today. I'd really love to hear how everything's been going. Just have a quick pop into the chat, see what's going on. A few more people tuning in, that's fantastic. Sida from Texas in America, awesome. Nassis from, where were you from? I remember from last time. But anyway, I remember seeing you yesterday, so great to see you again. Fantastic. And Kim tuning in from Wellington. Awesome. Okay, so let me know what you're most looking forward to in today's session. I've just realized I've got to introduce yourself in the comments banner covering half the slides. Apologies for that. Okay, so let me know what you're looking forward to learning today. We're going to be focusing particularly on the profile optimization side. So I'm just saying, I can't wait. I can't wait either. Lots of great things to share today. Okay, so let's jump right in then. Actually, no, before we jump right in, just a quick reminder. I think most people, certainly those who are in the chat, I recognize probably being already registered. But if you're not registered yet, please do sign up on the website to get full access to everything as part of this bootcamp. It's free to register. You don't need to put any payment information in or anything like that. Like, it's not a kind of free trial or anything. It's totally free. So please check out the link in the description below to register to join the bootcamp. Like everything within the bootcamp for free, and you get access to all 5 bootcamp sessions, including like lives just like this one, also the replays if you can't make them or you missed like yesterday's session, and you get email reminders when we go live to make sure you don't miss us. You also get a free implementation workbook, and it was really great to see people sharing their work from the workbook in yesterday's session and posting it in our Facebook group. So people are generally finding this workbook helpful, which is fantastic. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying that. You also get a free Chinese social media platforms guide and a certificate of completion at the end of the bootcamp, just to celebrate all of your achievements. And as I talked quite a bit about last time, you can win extra bonus prizes by participating in the bootcamp and engaging with all of the content and implementing the stuff that we've been learning. And you can only be eligible for those bonuses if you've registered on the course platform, so I can track all these things. So yeah, just a reminder to register if you haven't already. Link is in the description. Okay, intro over. So topic today is profile optimization. Profile optimization, and I'm seeing quite a few already messaging in the chat saying that they're looking forward to knowing how to set up your profile and how to optimize it. So thank you so much for your comments. That's great to hear. Nicole, I'll get you about the pin post actually in tomorrow's session, most likely, when we talk about your posting strategy. But yes, it's something you'll want to do in time for sure. Ooh. Fantastic. Okay, so today's topic is profile optimization. And I've got a quick question for you before we jump right into this. What do you think is the purpose of your profile? So what are your goals when you're putting together your profile? I think of it a bit like, you know, on Instagram, you have like your name and a bio and all these sort of things. That's what we call your profile on a social media platform. So if you think about your XiaoHongShu profile, what do you think is the purpose of that profile? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve when someone looks at your profile? Ooh, just a quick question here from Nicole. The target from the workbook, it was the parent or the kid? Thanks for the info. Great question. So the workbook, and generally throughout this bootcamp, when we refer to the customer, that is a person with the credit card who's paying. So in the case if you're teaching kids, in that case, that would be the parent who's your target customer. So if there's anything in the workbook or like during the bootcamp where we refer to a customer, in your case would be the parent. Sometimes we talk about the students, in which case that would be the child in this case. Mostly though, when it comes to marketing, we're targeting our marketing towards the customer, the person who's paying for it. So in that case, it'd be the parent for you. Okay, Daniel's saying, profile is to qualify prospects, attract the ideal customer, not everybody and his dog. Really great, I love that one. Fantastic, Daniel. And that's really key. We don't just want anyone. And when it comes to marketing on XiaoHongShu, any marketing really that we're doing, we are trying to reach our niche, our target customer. Actually, if you reach a really broad audience of the wrong people, you're going to be actually harming your ability to make sales. So yeah, you want to make sure you're attracting the right kind of customer, definitely. As I say, make a good impression, to sell yourself and build trust. I like that phrase of building trust, definitely. To attract potential students, absolutely. Lisa, attract your target audience and demonstrate expertise. Great, and I love that one as well. Demonstrating expertise is really important in your profile. Make clients aware of my existence. Yes, we like to know that people know we exist and that you offer lessons. To some extent, yes, we'll get on to a little bit more on this. But great ideas. And get viewers to follow me. Definitely. So when we're looking at social media, we talked last time about your social media marketing funnel and the kind of stages that people go through when they first discover you through to the point when they actually make a sale. We talked about there being sort of 7 touch points before that sale is made. So if they've just stumbled across your profile, they're quite early on in that process. So what we want them to do is to follow you so they see more of your posts and engage more with your content to help them move along the funnel. Fantastic. Nicole, sell your teacher brand. Yeah, brand is really key here. It's essentially how you're branding yourself on the app. Kristen's saying funnel plans are WeChat or we can begin marketing to them. Now this is an interesting one. My personal opinion is that in your profile is necessarily aiming to get people directly onto your WeChat. Maybe your posts are, and the way you engage with people, build your community is. But it's not necessarily something you want people to do straight away when they first come across your profile. That's a bit up to debate. But yeah, you certainly want to tell them what to do next and give them the next steps in your marketing funnel. Okay, Nick is just commented saying about the workbook. Thank you for sending the direct link. Yes, I had a few people messaging yesterday having issues finding the workbook, and I realized it wasn't super obvious, like in the course platform. I didn't put it as a big, like, bold text, here it is kind of way. So some people were struggling to find it. So yeah, I sent that in the email, the direct link to the workbook, if anyone needed that. So great. Okay, thank you so much for your comment. I'm not going to get through all of them, but let's jump back across to our slides and the kind of ideas that I've popped up here. So I think most of these actually you guys have already covered, which is great. So firstly, we want to attract your target audience. The key thing, I think it was Daniel who mentioned, not just anyone, we want your target audience specifically. Also establishing your expertise, showing that you know what you're talking about in terms of the content you are posting on XiaoHongShu and of course your classes. Also to set expectations. By that I mean expectations in terms of what people should expect on your account. Like if they follow you, what kind of content will they receive? So you can talk about, follow me for posts about, I don't know, weekly posts on scientific experiments that will be relevant to my niche. So talk about what you're going to be posting about. And your main call to action in your profile, in my opinion, this is not everyone's opinion, but in my opinion, your main call to action in your profile should be for people to follow you and to engage more with your content. We're not necessarily selling at this point. And I put that here at the bottom here. This is not your CV. This is not a resume where you're going to list all of your achievements, all of your qualifications. It's also not a sales page. We're not listing all the classes you're offering. In fact, I wouldn't even recommend directly mentioning your classes at all in your profile. So we're not trying to sell. We're not trying to get a job by telling everyone your entire resume. It's about attracting your target audience and encouraging them to follow you and building that trust and expertise. Okay, I'm rambling. Let's move on. So this is what your profile looks like. When you first sign up to XiaoHongShu, when you first download the app, it should take you directly to the edit profile screen. But just to get an idea of what your profile will look like the finished product, it should be something like this. My face is coming half. Let me just move myself out of the way a bit. So as we can see, we've got your name, which appears right at the very top, quite obviously, and also you've got a nice picture. Hidden underneath your name are a few small sections where it talks about your ID. So your XiaoHongShu ID, which is kind of like how people could add you directly. And also lists your IP address, which means your location. You can't change that. It does it automatically. So that's just a thing that happens. And you also have a big section called the bio. And this is a bit we're going to focus particularly on optimizing because it is particularly important. It's a bit like how on Instagram people write a little, couple of lines about themselves. Same kind of thing here on XiaoHongShu. Then underneath that, you have what I refer to as tags, and they tag various things. You can switch these on and off if you don't want them to be publicly displayed. It's not a problem. So firstly, your gender, your location. You can pick a different location to your actual location, like it's just the country that you're from. I would recommend picking there. And also up to 2, what they call pro tags. These used to be called job tags. They've since renamed them to pro tags, which makes a little bit more sense than it used to. And these essentially are tags, like niche tags or topic tags. We'll talk more about those later. So this is a general overview of your profile. It will look something like this. So what I'd actually recommend you doing right now, so if you have the XiaoHongShu app already, I would highly recommend opening up the app right now. And as we're going through this webinar, as we're going through the live stream, updating and tweaking these things as you go. If you don't have the app or you're not quite ready to make these changes right now, that's fine. You can just make some notes to the side. In the workbook is step-by-step through this whole thing as well for today's session. So you can use the workbook to guide you through this whole thing. But yeah, if you're watching us live or if you're watching the replay, you can pause and do each bit as you go along. I would recommend that just to make sure you're implementing everything that we're talking about. Okay. We've got a question here from Daniel. Daniel saying, will the PRC system hiccup when I say I live in Taipei? Oh, this is politics. This is politics. Since Winnie the Pooh doesn't recognize Taiwan as a country. Yes, this is something somewhat debatable. I suspect, I've not actually tried this myself because I'm not in Taiwan, so I can't check it. But it will pick up something, but on your IP address, it might list China instead of Taiwan. Let's be honest, it's probably to your advantage. It might say, I believe actually for people in mainland China, at least it lists the actual city, not just the country. So you might just say like Taipei, China, or something like that. Try not to get offended by all the political chaos that sometimes happens around these things. But you register and everything, but it might just show a slightly different country depending on your opinion of what is a country. Let's not get into that. But yeah, don't worry too much about it. The IP bit gets picked automatically. You can't change this. And in the country tag, you can just pick whatever you want there. I suspect they won't even have Taiwan available as an option, but you can check. Okay, so just asking for my name. Is it okay to say teacher Soda? Do you recommend this? Personally, I just use my first name. And the reason I do that is because I want to be more kind of friendly rapport with my followers, and I don't want to make it sound too much like I'm trying to sell classes. I think if you put teacher at the beginning, they immediately think, this is a teacher who's trying to sell classes. So it gives a bit of negative vibes when they first see your profile. So personally, I don't recommend including the word teacher. Also, there's a very limited number of characters you can write in the name field. So it's just wasting characters that you could use for other things. We'll get on to that later. Okay, so first thing when you go to edit your profile, the very first thing you can edit at the top is your profile picture. And I've got a few kind of suggestions here on the screen of what I would recommend doing. And essentially, I think that your profile picture, it must clearly show your face. As you can see, it's quite small on your profile. So you want your face to be like here, taking up most of the screen. You don't want it to be really far away and like at a weird angle so they can't actually see you, right? So you want to be taking up most of the frame. Make sure the background is sort of relevant to your niche and the general style, like what you're wearing, how you've sort of designed your background is relevant to your niche. So if you're teaching business professionals, you'll want like an office or plain white background and a smart suit. If you're teaching kids, then you'll want something that's bright and colorful, something like that. In my case, my niche is science classes for teenagers. So it's a little bit hard to see, but it's like a rocket in the background. It's just a blue background with a rocket and my face stuck in front of it. And not too formal because teenagers don't want something super formal and businessy. And what I recommend doing is making sure that this profile matches across all of your social media platforms. So make sure it matches your WeChat profile picture. If you're using any other platforms like, I don't know, Bilibili, Douyin, Kuaishou, all of the Chinese social media platforms, which you'll get in our free guide when you signed up to the bootcamp, make sure that your profile picture is the same on all of them. That way, when people stumble across you on a new platform, they recognize who you are and they'll follow you again because they already love you and your content. So it's just setting up your brand. Okay, I feel like this one relatively simple. Most people get the concept of a profile picture. Okay, now the next part requires a little bit more thinking. And this is your name and what I like to call your tagline. So it just calls it name. But what I'd recommend doing is adding not just your name, but also a little kind of tagline that talks about your niche. For your name, just pick your actual name or like what you want people to call you. If you've got a really long name, maybe you pick your shortened nickname or something, however your students normally address you. As I was saying earlier, Seda asked about including teacher in the name. Personally, I wouldn't waste the space on it. And I've got a question here also from Seda. Can I edit my name? I think you can only edit it a maximum, I want to say 3 times per week. There's a limit of how many times you can edit it per week. So if it's not letting you edit it right now, you might have to wait a few days and then try again. It's to stop people constantly changing their names and things. But yeah, you will be able to, but there is a maximum, I believe it was 3 times per week last time I checked. So we've got a name, and then this tagline. This tagline should emphasize your niche in terms of not just your classes, but also in terms of what you post on XiaoHongShu, which should match up because we're trying to reach the target audience that you're going to be teaching in your classes. In my case, I've written 剑桥科学老师. This means Cambridge Science Teacher. That's because I'm teaching science classes to kids who want to study abroad at a top UK university. So I've mentioned my university, I've mentioned science, and I've mentioned teacher. So you can say teacher like in Chinese here because it seems relevant to the way I was phrasing my tagline. Key things to remember with this like name field and tagline, it shows up when people are searching. So if you include keywords, like in my case, science teacher, or Cambridge Science, because people might be searching for like, I want to go study at Cambridge and study science, that kind of thing, then these will show up when people are searching. So your profile will be highlighted to them. So it's very important to have keywords relevant to your niche. Also, when you engage with other people's posts, like you write a comment on someone else's post or you're messaging them or something, however else you've managed to network with them, they will see that within your name field. So that tagline will show up and they know immediately who you are. You'll notice, yes, Twin has just commented saying, Mom, you wrote your bio in Chinese. Now we have to write bio in Chinese. Yes, so I was going to get to that in a moment, but definitely, I would recommend writing this in Chinese because your target audience is Chinese. XiaoHongShu does not automatically translate anything on the app. So whenever you write like your bio, your name, your actual name, I'd put in English or like in your native language. But the tagline you'll want to have in Chinese, because Chinese customers will be searching in Chinese and they're generally reading content in Chinese. Also, a benefit of Chinese is it's a much more like condensed language than English. So like this in English would be maybe 20 characters long, but in Chinese it's only 6 characters, so it actually fits in the tagline. So that's also quite helpful. If you don't speak Chinese, don't worry. There's this amazing app called Google Translate, which does a decent enough job. You can also use apps like DeepL, which is slightly better than Google Translate. I'll just put that in the comments, DeepL. You search for DeepL, it's a bit better than Google Translate, or Baidu Translate, which is the Chinese kind of copy of Google Translate. But yeah, Google Translate, a little tagline there. I would recommend that your tagline is like 2 to 3 words long, and that will translate into 4 to 6 Chinese characters generally. So it should fit nicely in the tagline. Okay, Stephanie's asking, hi Katie, if they pick up that you're trying to sell classes, even if you followed all the tips and tricks to avoid getting flagged, can getting banned or flagged affect your WeChat account? Now, I can't say for sure because I don't work for XiaoHongShu. I don't have any super inside information on this, unfortunately. Personally, I would doubt it because they're separate companies. So the reason you get banned, by the way, is not to do with selling classes. The reason you get banned would be due to commercial content generally. So something that's against the XiaoHongShu terms and conditions is directly selling or promoting commercial content on a personal account. However, we don't have Chinese businesses, so we can't set up commercial accounts anyway, which is a bit complicated. So yeah, if you're like directly trying to sell things, as in you're posting things like 50% off, special discount, that kind of content, it will get flagged, and because it's directly commercial, promotional, and that could cause you getting restricted. XiaoHongShu was quite lenient. Like they tend to first remove a post, give you the opportunity to edit a post, restrict things before they block you. They give you plenty of warning if there are any issues. But yeah, if there's repeated issues, you could get blocked on XiaoHongShu. But XiaoHongShu is owned by a different company to WeChat. They don't talk to each other about these kind of things. I doubt it would affect your WeChat account, but I can't say for certain. So please don't sue me or something if anything happens. But yeah, generally, if you follow most of the tips in this bootcamp, you should avoid some of the main pitfalls that result in people getting banned, because we don't want that. We're all about long-term success here, not short-term quick sales and then get blocked. Okay, Laura's just commented saying ChatGPT does better translation, I found. I've had very mixed experiences with ChatGPT, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes it's amazing and it creates content that looks like it was written by a native Chinese speaker because the AI is thinking like a Chinese speaker, if that makes sense. But sometimes I've got it to translate things and I've looked at the result it's come out with, and I've been studying Chinese for 10 years now. I'll look at the result and I'm like, that's not quite what I meant. It hasn't quite grasped the concept. So sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I can say the same about most translation tools. What I would recommend doing is always reverse translating what you put in. So get it translated into Chinese and then copy and paste that into a different translation tool to translate back into English, and check it translated back to roughly the same thing as you put in. Because that just picks up on a lot of common translation related issues. Okay, cool. So that gives you a quick intro to the first 2 sections of your profile. So we've done the picture and we've done the name and the tagline. There's a lot of content to get through, so I'm going to quickly move on. But if you've got any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat as we go. So let's move on to the next section of your profile then. The next section of your profile is the profile ID. I'm going through in the order that you edit on the edit screen, by the way, if you're confused about the slightly random order we're going through this. So your profile ID is basically how people can add you on XiaoHongShu. When you first sign up, it defaults to some kind of mess of numbers or something, which is not very convenient. So you want to change this ID to be something that is firstly easy to remember, easy to spell, and secondly, it should match your profile, your WeChat ID. So that way, if people have found you on XiaoHongShu and they notice you've got a custom ID, like you've set your ID specifically, they'll be like, I wonder if this person's also on this other platform, and they'll search for you on WeChat. I've had people reach out and search me on WeChat completely at random, and I've been like, where did you find me? And they will say, I found you on XiaoHongShu, and I noticed that you had your ID, like you put your ID at the top. I haven't written this WeChat ID because it's not a WeChat ID. This is my XiaoHongShu ID, but it's the same as my WeChat ID. And then people can easily add you on other platforms. So yeah, I would highly recommend doing that. Before you change it, make sure you check first the ID you want is available on both platforms. So if you're editing your WeChat ID and you're editing your XiaoHongShu ID at the same time, because you haven't set either one yet, firstly, search for that ID and make sure someone else hasn't already taken it, because that would be even worse if you're sending people to the wrong WeChat account. Okay, Nicole's just commented saying name can be modified once within 7 days. Okay, I swear it used to be 3 times a week, maybe 3 times a week as a bio, now I think about it. Thank you for that information. Very helpful. Yes, name can be modified once within 7 days. Good to know. I think that was it Sadie who was asking about that earlier? So yeah, if you can't edit your name right now, just wait a week and you can try later. Your ID, by the way, you can only edit your profile ID once per year. So like once you've set it, it's kind of permanently set. Or it might be once every 6 months. I can't remember. It's either once per year or once per 6 months between WeChat and XiaoHongShu. So make sure you're 100% certain that this is the ID you want before you set it. Great. Stephanie's commenting saying, I use Papago for translations. It's a Korean app and the translation to Chinese is quite good. I've never heard of that one. Thank you so much for the recommendation. Great to know. Okay, so that is our profile ID. Melody's just asking a quick question. I have teacher on my WeChat ID. Is that okay? Should be fine. It shouldn't be a problem. Personally, I always think it's best not to waste space with words like teacher. It's easy to just use your actual name. In my case, I use my name and a combination of numbers that relate to my birthday because I set my WeChat ID literally years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So at the time, I wasn't really thinking about how to make it perfectly optimized and, promoting my classes. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about if you've already got WeChat in your ID, then keep it. But I wouldn't deliberately put it in if you're setting your ID now from scratch. Because again, it kind of, a bit like with your name, if you've got teacher in it, it gives the impression that your goal here is to sell classes. And that creates a sort of salesy vibe that you don't necessarily want on your profile. Okay, so that was our profile ID. Key things, easy to remember, easy to spell, and it must match your WeChat ID. Okay, now I'm going to jump, I've skipped the bio section. So if you're editing right now, there's a bit that says bio. We're going to come back to that in a minute because there's a lot more detail to do on that. I want to skip ahead just to the last bit, which is the pro tags. And they used to call these jobs, which didn't make any sense whatsoever. They've now renamed it to pro tags, which is a little bit more sensible. But essentially it means pick 2 tags that relate to your niche on XiaoHongShu. And I would recommend picking up to 2 relevant options from the education or the parenting categories if you're teaching kids. If you're teaching business professionals, there's a huge range of different options you could pick depending on specific industries. So have a look into those specifically. But yes, so these ones you can pick. Key thing here though is that these are only in Chinese. So we're going to go through in a moment how to what these are in English, because if you're editing right now, you'll be presented with a huge mess of Chinese and not sure what they all mean. So let's have a look at what these options are. This is on the edit page. I'm going to move my face over here so we can actually see it. Okay, so when you are editing, I'm slightly off script, never mind. Okay, when you are editing your profile, you will see the options within the tag, and you see there's 2 columns. The left-hand column is like the overall category, and then the right-hand column is the sort of different ones within that category. So you'll first want to scroll to, say, the education category. So Jiaoyu here means education. And then once you scroll to education, on the right-hand side, you'll then see various other categories within education. And I've put a nice translation for you on the screen right here. Feel free to take a screenshot and have a look at it. If you've got the workbook, these are also on the workbook. I put the words and the translation in the same order as they are on the edit screen in the workbook, so you can easily pick from those. In my case, my niche is teenage students who want to study science at a top UK university. So they're like middle to high school age students. So I picked education blogger and study abroad advisor as my two sort of niche tags. But obviously pick ones that are relevant to your niche. If you're teaching really young kids, you might want to consider some of the options within the parenting category, which I put underneath. These are kind of slightly weirdly named: mum and baby blogging and parenting blogging. But essentially, if you're posting content that's about like how to help your baby become fluent in English, at the age of 3 or whatever your niche is, then those ones might be relevant for if you're teaching really young kids. Now, I also know we've got a lot of teachers here who are teaching adults. There are pretty a lot more options if you're teaching adults, so I'm not going to go through all of them. I picked out a few here that relate to consultancy. So if you go under the consultancy category, which is this one here, Zishun Fu, I think is how you pronounce that. Not quite sure. Zishun. I will ask my Chinese teacher what tone it is on Shun there. But anyway, consultancy. Within consultancy, you have a list of different options. So you've got management consultant, IT consultant, strategic consultant, and HR consultant. So if you're doing kind of consultancy related to business English type stuff, these ones could be relevant for that. Now, if you're in some other industry, for example, on the screen here, just above consultancy, there's marketing professionals. And there's like data and analysts and IT professionals and those kind of categories. You're going to have to just browse through all the categories there are on XiaoHongShu and just take a screenshot, pop it into Google Translate, and it will translate it for you. I haven't a chance to go through all of the options there because there are literally hundreds of them. But hopefully this gives you a quick idea of some key ones relevant to many people's niche. So you can select up to 2 categories for these tags. Okay, any questions on these? I feel like this is people find a bit daunting. I wouldn't actually worry too much about the details of this. But sometimes people find it a bit daunting because it is literally all in Chinese, this section of the profile. I would recommend take a screenshot of the screen right now or the previous one. If you're watching the replay, just sit back and have a look at it and use that while you're picking tags to find the ones that are most relevant. Okay, well, a question here from Nicole. Where did you say we can change those tags? Is it the job section, edit profile? Yes. Mine is called pro tags rather than job. It used to be called jobs though, so maybe you've got either a slightly older version of XiaoHongShu or maybe you're on iOS and they haven't updated it on the iPhone app yet, maybe. But like it was the latest update on Android, they changed the name from job to pro tag, something weird like that. So yeah, if it says job, that's also the same thing. So job or pro, depending on which exact version of the app you happen to be on. So yeah, good question. Thank you for that. I hadn't realized not everyone's got the latest version yet. Okay, I'm going to put my face back over here and then we're going to move on to the next section. Oops, my face just flew off the screen. This is going well. There we go. Right. So that was a bit about the pro tags or job tags, depending on which version of XiaoHongShu you're using. And I would recommend, if you didn't have one of the ones that were on the screen right there, if those aren't the most relevant to you, just have a browse later on in your own time to find some that are more relevant. You don't have to pick tags, by the way, they're optional. I know plenty of people who are successful without picking any tags. I'm not even entirely sure what the tags are actually meant to do, except maybe show up your profile to people who are interested in those areas. But it's something you can pick while you're editing your profile. Okay, next thing to have a quick look at is your background picture. And this one, I see a lot of mess in a lot of people's background photos on XiaoHongShu. Sorry, by the way, for going through this all very quickly. I'm just aware that there's a lot to get through, and I know everyone likes to try and finish roughly on time. So yes, let's move swiftly on. So background photo, I see so much mess going on with people's background photos. So we want to avoid mess, we want to avoid chaos. As you can see in this profile, like the picture you can see on the screen here, this is my profile. The background is kind of grayed out and covered by all of your other profile content. So it's really hard to see anything in that background picture. So don't put any text in it. Don't put like a salesy message. Don't put like lots of little images that you've copied together to make a kind of clipboard style thingy, whatever. Just put one really simple image relating to your niche, or just a plain color or gradient. I've seen some really big XiaoHongShu accounts that haven't even edited theirs from the default, which is just a sort of purpley gradient color. So you don't have to make it anything complicated. The main thing is that it mustn't obscure the actual profile content. You want it just be to a kind of quiet background vibes. In my case, because I'm targeting students who want to study abroad, I picked a picture of a top UK university as a kind of background, kind of gives vibes that this is about studying abroad. So that's what I went with. But yeah, please, please, please don't make some fancy thing in Canva with lots of text and lots of images and mess going on. Keep it simple. Okay, rant over. This is one of the things that annoys me a lot when I'm looking at teachers' profiles. I'm like, oh my gosh, please. Okay, the last part to look at, and this is going to take up probably the most of the rest of this webinar, is the profile bio. This is the bit that requires a lot of thought and planning before you go and edit it. And as I was mentioned earlier, you can only edit this 3 times per week. So don't just go crazy editing. Plan it first, then put it in. You'll notice here that it's all in Chinese. I also recommend writing this in Chinese. Obviously, most of us don't speak Chinese. That's not a problem. Plan it in English first, put it in a translation app, and then put it on your profile when it's all finished. So your profile bio. We talked earlier about the importance of what is the goal of your profile, what you want people to do. What you want people to do is to see they're an expert in what you're doing, to know a bit more about what you're posting about on XiaoHongShu. And most importantly, you want them to follow you so then they can move further down that marketing funnel that we talked about. Realistically, most people, when they look at your profile, the reason they're looking at it is because they found one of your random posts sort of randomly recommended to them on XiaoHongShu, and they've clicked through to see who you are because they're curious a bit about you and they're thinking about following you. That's why they've clicked through. They're not yet ready to buy anything, so no sales messages here. So in your bio, I would recommend you can break it into different lines to make it a little bit easier to read. Don't go over 3 lines, but you can split it into up to 3 lines. And you can also add little emojis and stuff between the sentences, or to create a kind of bullet point effect, which just helps to break things up and look a bit more fun. In China, they love emojis, so people go crazy for them. So feel free to use emojis. I would start by just listing maybe 1 or 2 key selling points relating to you. Now, I said before, this bio is not a CV, it's not a resume. So please don't list out like, I have a degree in this, I have a TEFL certificate, I also have a TESOL certificate, and I have a CELTA certificate, and I have 6 years of teaching experience with VIP Kid, and I also don't list out all of those things. No one's interested. If you've got 1 or 2 key kind of unique things that relate specifically to your niche, then mention those. For example, maybe you're focusing on business English for, I don't know, sales professionals in the IT industry. And you can put a little thing saying that you yourself are a sales professional in the IT industry with 20 years experience. That might be relevant to mention because that's quite unique, that most other people who are sort of foreigners on XiaoHongShu more generally, which is quite a lot of teachers, won't have that experience. And it relates specifically to your niche. Similarly, if you're teaching like young kids and maybe you've got kids yourself, you could put something like mother of 2 bilingual kids. And that could be really interesting to them because if you're posting content that's about like how to raise bilingual children, then that relates to your niche, relates to the classes you offer, and it links to what you mentioned in your bio. So things like that I would mention, maybe 1 or maximum 2. Then I'd also follow that up with something called your transformation statement. And we're going to go into a lot more detail on that in a moment. But your transformation statement is essentially what is it you're offering, both in terms of your classes and in terms of the content that you're posting on XiaoHongShu. Don't directly mention your classes, but talk about like what kind of people you help, what do you help them achieve, what transformation are you offering them. If that doesn't make sense to you right now, don't worry, we'll get to that in a minute. And then you also want to end with some kind of call to action. Your call to action generally will be follow me for something. Why should they follow you? And that also sets up the expectations of what kind of content and things you'll be posting about, as we mentioned earlier, as being a goal of your profile bio. I'm rambling a lot here. By the way, if you've got the workbook, in the workbook, this bio has been broken into like these 3 key parts within the workbook. So you can kind of list out a bunch of ideas for each of these sections in order to then put together a nice, concise, perfect converting bio. So that's all in the workbook. Do have a look at that. So transformation statement. This is a bit that I think teachers struggle a lot with. and also can be very confusing, and maybe people also overthink a lot. But your transformation statement is essentially telling whoever's looking at this, like whoever's looking at your profile, what it is that you are offering people. If they follow you, what transformation will they achieve as a result of your posts? Or really, we're talking about as a result of your classes. So there's several different ways in which you can structure this transformation statement. A very sort of standard way is what I've written above here. I help, and then whatever your niche target student is, develop certain skills to achieve some end goal. So you're thinking about who you're helping, how you're helping them, and what is the ultimate goal that they want to achieve. This links into what we were talking about yesterday when we analysed a bit about your target audience and who your target customer is. Why are they learning English? What do they want to achieve? Now this is my profile, and I've just nicely translated for you into English what my profile bio says. So mine starts off with qualified science teacher, Cambridge University graduate. So that links into my niche, kind of unique selling points that are a bit different to most online ESL teachers, help me stand out. Then we've got the transformation statement. This is what I want you to focus on. So I've written, I help you develop the scientific English and debating skills to enter a top UK university. Now, I didn't actually say who my student is, I just said you. Sometimes I think it helps to just talk to the audience. But I could have said, I help middle school students, or I help high school students. So that's my target student. Then I said, develop certain skills. In this case, scientific, English, and debating skills. And those are the special classes that I offer. And those are like my favorite classes to teach. And they're also what I mostly post about on my XiaoHongShu account. I talk about scientific English. I talk about debating skills. I post various posts that help my followers develop those skills, or at least get enough of an insight into them to want to reach out to me about classes. More on that in tomorrow's session. And then finally, the ultimate goal that my students want to achieve. The goal they want to achieve is to get into a top UK university. That's why they're learning English, or why they're trying to develop this scientific English and debating skills that my classes offer them, right? They're not just doing it for fun. Think about their longer term goal. I also added a mind just because it's kind of a nice thing to mention, currently teaching English in Japan. I mostly put that because I had people messaging me being like, why does your IP address say that you're located in Japan, but you put United Kingdom as one of your location tags on your profile? So to avoid confusion, I'm like, I'm currently teaching English in Japan. That's why it says I'm in Japan on my XiaoHongShu profile. But yeah, that's not that important. I just added that as a thing. So yeah, that's one structure for your transformation statement. And as I'm going to go through a few more examples, what I'd really love to see is if you guys want to pop in the comments, what transformation are you offering your students? So what kind of niche classes are you offering? And then we can work together to try and draft out a few of these kind of transformation statements. Feel free to have a go yourself using these kind of sentence structures to help. I feel like I'm teaching a class here. Here's a sentence structure. Fill in the gaps with things relating to you. Like adapt this for you, but that's literally what we're doing here. So yeah. Talking of which, Kristen's commented saying, my niche is mostly reading and speaking. So my key selling point should be I write something about how much I love to read and my love for children's books. Yeah, that's a fantastic thing to mention. So particularly if you're going to be posting a lot of content about like recommended books for kids, which could be a great thing to post about. We'll talk more about this in the posting strategy session tomorrow. You could mention a key selling point being like, oh gosh, words have escaped me. Being like, passionate about reading, or like I've read over 100 books already this year, or something like that. That kind of catches people's interest, perhaps. I know also sometimes people are things like, this is not related to your niche, but they're like previous IELTS examiner, or they wrote their own children's book and they're a published author. That kind of cool thing that links into what you're selling is nice to mention. So yeah, you could say something about like how many books you like to read, or your favorite books that you're interested in. So yeah, your love for children's books, definitely worth mentioning. Okay, Melody's commenting saying pronunciation and conversational English. So this is quite a broad niche. So what I'd like you to have a think about, who is your target student? We said here, I help this target student develop some skills to achieve some ultimate goal. So you talked here about the skills, right? Pronunciation skills, conversational English. These are kind of skills and things that you teach. But I want you to think about who you teach and why do they need these pronunciation words. I can't pronounce anything today. Why do they need these pronunciation and conversational English skills? Like, what are they going to achieve as a result of it? How does it help them in their career? Or how does it help them in their studies, or whatever their future life plans are? And that will help you a lot with this transformation statement. Okay, Teresa's saying, I help students practice speaking skills to be. I need your pronunciation classes, Melody. I can't, words today completely avoid escaping me. I help students practice speaking skills to achieve their desired band score in IELTS. Fantastic. Let's narrow down a little bit more. Who is your target student? So, for example, are you helping university students? Are you helping IELTS students? Obviously IELTS students. Are you helping high school students? Like, is it people who want to get into an undergraduate degree, or is it people who want to go study a postgraduate degree abroad? That might be something to look into. Or maybe it's not students at all, although they are quite a big market for IELTS. It could also be professionals. And what is their desired band score? Actually, I've talked to quite a few IELTS coaches, and depending on why people are wanting to take the IELTS exam, they'll be targeting different scores. So, for example, if you want to study at like a really top university overseas, you might need like a 7 or 7.5 score. Sometimes people only need like a 6 or a 6.5. One of my best friends, she got into university in the UK with only, I think it was a 6.5 score, or even a 6, and she had to take summer school or something for extra classes. But you know, you can get in with slightly lower scores. And if you want to study an English medium degree within mainland China, they normally require like a 5.5 score, which is quite a bit lower. So you might want to mention that, because you teach different strategies and in different ways depending on what this desired band score is, right? So pick a target audience there. And think about why they want to pass the IELTS exam. And we've got an IELTS example coming up, so that will be helpful for you for that. Okay, so just saying English and Spanish book clubs. Fantastic. And I really love that we've got teachers here and not just teaching English, because I think, you know, there's a huge diverse range of classes and things that people are offering. So that's fantastic. So, Saida, please tell me how to pronounce your name. I'm really sorry. I'm awful at this. Why are your students wanting to read? Like, what are they getting out of your book club? And what is their ultimate goal? So it might be that they're kids and they want to develop like more reading kind of fluency and reading comprehension skills, because at some point they're going to have to use those in exams. That could be one motivation for wanting to sign up for those classes, right? So that's their ultimate goal. Or it might be you're teaching adults and they'll be signing up for a Spanish book club because they are working in an industry that requires a lot of like writing and reading with Spanish customers or something. So they want to improve reading skills in a more fun way that they can practice without feeling sort of stressed like it's a chore. Whatever. That could be something to think about when you're phrasing your translation. I do feel like at some point I want to put together a whole course just on like finding a niche and phrasing these kind of statements, because it can be a real big challenge for a lot of us. Okay, I see lots of great ideas in the chat. I'm going to give you a few more examples. They might help with some of this, but feel free to keep popping your niches and your thoughts on your transformation statement in the chat as we go along. Okay, so this is my one. My transformation statement was, I help you develop the scientific English and debating skills to enter a top UK university. Using this format, I help target student develop certain skills to achieve some ultimate end goal. Let's look at another example. This example is the same sentence structure, but this is an IELTS example. So someone earlier was doing IELTS. This will be really relevant to you. This is Jordan. I hope Jordan doesn't mind me reusing this again. Jordan joined our bootcamp, I think last summer actually, and put this together. It was fantastic. So Jordan is an IELTS coach from Australia, and his profile description, by the way, says Jordan, then Monash IELTS coach. I think he went to Monash University. It links something like that. Okay, and if we have a look at what he's actually written here, he says, his transformation statement, I help you develop IELTS exam techniques to enter your dream Australian university. So the ultimate end goal is not to do well in the IELTS exam. They're doing the IELTS exam because they want to get into an Australian university. That is their ultimate end goal. So the skills they need are the IELTS exam techniques. Lots of students have got good English, but they don't do as well as they could do in the exam because they don't understand what the examiners are looking for, right? So that's what he's focusing on here. Those are the skills that he's helping you develop. And he's also added, and I quite like the phrasing of this, do you want to achieve a 7.5 score? The 12 questions are great for like catching people's attention. So do you want to achieve a 7.5 score? That's the requirement, I guess, for a lot of these top universities. Follow me for IELTS tips and examiner secrets. We talked before about that call to action. Why should they follow him? Well, he's going to be posting lots of IELTS tips and examiner secrets. I seem to remember he was a previous IELTS examiner, so this has helped a lot with his niche. So that is an example there of something you could do as an IELTS instructor. I think whoever that was earlier talking about IELTS, hopefully that helps a bit. Just realized my camera is pointing slightly weird. Apologies if you're only seeing the top of my head half the time. I keep looking down at my computer and forget the camera's up here. She thought I'd be better at this after so many years of online teaching, but nope. Okay, we've got a question here from Angie. Angie's saying, this I think was following on from what we were talking earlier. Angie, you mentioned this earlier. I'm losing track. So much going on in the chat. Oh, someone else earlier. Okay, Angie's saying to read fluently and with understanding. Yes. So again, I really recommend narrowing down your specific student. Who are you helping read fluently? Are we talking about young kids? Are we talking about teenagers? Are we talking about adults here? And why do they need to read fluently? But I do like this in terms of skills that you're offering. So if you develop skills, you would have, you don't necessarily have to say the word develop, but you could say, I help, I know, elementary school students read more fluently and understand what they're reading in order to get better exam grades. Something like that could be a simple transformation statement there. Well, I like this one here from Kristen. Excellent. I help children develop phonetics so they can confidently read English books. Yeah, fantastic. I think a lot of students, they struggle a lot with like phonics. Phonics is not taught that well in a lot of schools. So this is a really something that parents are aware of. Chinese parents are often aware of phonics. Like it's a phrasing they use. They're aware of phonics as a thing, but it's not always taught that well. So they know their kids need extra help with it. So this is a great niche to focus on. So you've said your niche, children, your target student, developing the skills, so phonics, the ability to sound out words, like that kind of thing, so they confidently read English books. Awesome. I think it's always quite difficult with young kids to identify the ultimate end goal, but I think confidently reading English books is at least a short to medium-term goal that parents will often have. So that's a great one to go with. That sounds like very similar. Awesome. I help 5 to 12-year-olds learn phonics and practice their general English skills. Now, one thing I might mention here, this works really well, but you might also want to think about who your customer is as opposed to your student. So either way can work in this sense, but you could say, I help parents of elementary school kids understands English phonics and activities they can play with their children to improve their English reading, that kind of thing. So do also be aware that it's the parents you're ultimately targeting. So even if you're mentioning students, think about it from the perspective of the parent. That can also help. This I think is a pronunciation. Thank you. Not a long A, so an A. Cider. Oh gosh, I'm awful. If you could type it in like the phonetic alphabet or something, I'll have a look at it, or just send me a message. I am hopeless. I apologize. Please, someone with your phonics classes, help me with this. Thank you. Okay, Laura's saying, I help students develop speaking and writing skills to achieve a grade A in the Cambridge exams. Fantastic. And I like that, if you're focusing on exams, it can be very tempting just to say, like, I teach exam prep and mention a whole list of exams. It's good here that you focus on very specific Cambridge exams. I seem to remember from our messages earlier that you were a previous Cambridge examiner, or you've done quite a lot of work with Cambridge exams before, from what I remember. So it links into your expertise. And you said specifically the grade they need to achieve, a grade A, obviously a big target grade for a lot of students. And you also focus on very specific skills, just the speaking and the writing skills. So those kind of production skills, which I know a lot of students struggle with. So that really helps people narrow down why they should follow you as opposed to a more generalist account. Fantastic. Govern saying something kind of similar. I help elementary students develop their phonics and reading skills to be confident English speakers. I really like that. Awesome. Do be aware that phonics kind of links more into more reading, whereas pronunciation might link into speaking a bit more. That's always a bit, there's obviously overlap with some of these things. But yes, I like that one. Think about why they want to develop these skills, and then kind of longer term goals where you can. So should I change to confidently read in English? Let's have a look at what we had earlier. We had confidently read English books. Yeah, I think change that to confidently read English, because it's not just about books, it's also about more broadly, like in exams, for example, at school. That could work really well. Great. Awesome. Okay, so sorry, I'm hopeless at trying to keep on top of the comments and everything to work through, but I want to try and help as many of you as possible with these. So it's always great to keep messaging the chat if you've got any other transformation statement ideas you want me to have a look at. Let's quickly run through a couple more examples before we finish up. So I've got another one here, and this is a slightly different format to the sort of structure of the bio. So whereas before we had, I help student develop skills to achieve goal, here you've also added in by some certain method. And I've got a picture from Leanne, who I was recently doing some coaching with. I hope she doesn't mind. I just nicked her profile for this. But it was a really good one. So I think it's a great example to show you guys. And if we translate this, so Leanne, it says her profile tag is reading and writing specialist, like coach. So that's what she's focusing on. So she says, I use topic-based reading and writing to help elementary school students develop the critical thinking, analysis, and study skills to excel academically. That is a bit of a mouthful, I'm going to be honest, but it really gets across the whole message. So she's talking about who she helps, elementary school students. Develop which skills? Well, the critical thinking, analysis, and study skills. And the ultimate end goal is to excel academically. And she's also put the method. She actually put the method at the beginning rather than at the end. But she said, I use topic-based reading and writing. So this is the kind of method, the approach that she's using. And she's got a really well-developed kind of curriculum and teaching methodology that helps develop these skills specifically. So it can be helpful to mention if you're using a really like research-backed methodology, for example, that could be something to mention in your profile bio, particularly if it's something you're going to be talking a lot about in your posts. Okay, and the last one to have a look at is Lisa, who joined. I think she might be tuning in earlier, which is fantastic. I thought this was really great, so I wanted to share this with you guys. Who joined our boot camp. I think she joined us maybe 6 or so months ago, or maybe last summer. It was quite a while back now. But she had a really great profile bio and transformation statement that I thought would be useful to have a look at. Her tagline is English reading education expert. And if you have a look at the bio, it says, I've helped 294 students I really can't speak today. I have helped 294 students go from being unable to read to fully understanding text. Reading opens the door to language mastery. What I think is really great here, and this is something I think Lisa's added since we worked on this previously, is that she's mentioned the exact number of students that she's helped. It's like real proof that she's an expert in what she does. So if you've got a big number like that, I know sometimes some teachers, if you teach on some platforms, you might have taught thousands of students, right? So if you've got like a big number that shows off like some success that you've had, some evidence, that's a great thing to mention. I also quite like the rather poetic phrasing of the reading opens the door to language mastery. It's just kind of a nice little twist to add to your profile if you've got a bit of space. And in this particular case, the structure of her transformation statement, that's the first statement in this bio, is a little bit different again to the ones we've looked at before. In this case, she's focusing on the challenge that her students need to overcome. So she's using this structure. I help student overcome some challenge to achieve a certain goal. In this case, the challenge is being unable to read. So a lot of students are really struggling with reading, particularly they're younger kids and they haven't had a huge amount of like English background previously. They're really struggling with basic reading skills. So she's taking them from that challenge of being unable to read to their ultimate goal of fully understanding text. So that's what she's put here in her bio. I liked it, so I thought I'd share that with you guys as well as a final example. Oh, thank you, Melody. Thank you. So, Saida. I'll get there. Yeah, I'm getting there with this, you guys. I'm learning something every day. Thank you so much, everyone, for helping me with my horrendous pronunciation of people's names. Thank you for your patience with that. Saida. I will remember it. Well, I'll probably forget it next time, but I'll try and remember it. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so that was the transformation statements. And there was a lot we just went through today, and we just bang on the hour mark, so good on us, we got through it. So your task today is essentially to optimize all of these things on your profile and update your profile, then post a screenshot of that profile in the Facebook group to celebrate everything that you've achieved. And if you've got the workbook with you, this workbook literally works you step by step through all of the things we talked about today. And I would recommend like writing it out in the workbook, planning it all out, thinking of a few different ideas and stuff first, before you then quickly translate it into Chinese and put it on your profile. Draft out a few ideas as you go along. You'll notice, particularly for the bio section, the workbook guides you through very step by step, like analyzing. I'm just going to move my face over here so you can kind of see it. It's a bit small on the screen. But in the profile bio, it works you very much through like analyzing who is your target customer, what is their ultimate end goal, what challenges do they face, and then putting together a really massive transformation statement that includes your target student, the skills they want to develop, the challenges they face, the ultimate goal, and what method you use. Now, your actual one that you use doesn't have to be all of that. Pick out the bits that are most relevant and most interesting. But it helps you just draft out a bunch of ideas. is the goal of that workbook. So yeah, get that workbook. The link is in the description underneath the video. If you haven't signed up yet for the bootcamp properly on the website, make sure you do that. I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'm going to shut up soon. So yeah, find that workbook, fill out the workbook, update your profile, and share a screenshot in the Facebook group. And that means, yeah, we can all share some feedback and suggestions and ideas as well. As I mentioned, I think yesterday we talked a bit about the opportunity to win these bonus prizes and things. And so if you do your homework today and you post it in the Facebook group within the next 24 hours, then you get an entry into the prize draw and you can win these awesome prizes like coaching and courses to help you take your marketing even further. So yeah, make sure you do the homework. I've got that little incentive to do it today in order to get it done. Okay, any questions on anything we've talked about so far? I've just seen a few messages in chat. Saida is off to class. No worries. Have a great class. Totally fine. I'm always trying to keep these things on time. My plan originally when I was planning out this bootcamp was for each live to be like half an hour long. And I looked at my plan a bit more and I was like, it's going to be an hour long, but you know, we'll go with it. But last time I tried to make them an hour long and they ended up being an hour and a half to 2 hours, which was getting ridiculous. So we're getting there with the timekeeping. Okay, Lynn is saying, I have a question. Great. Isn't it true they kind of prohibit selling or advertising on XiaoHongShu? Yeah, so you notice the way that we're phrasing your bio and all of this stuff. We're never directly mentioning classes. The goal of your profile is to convert people who've never heard about you into followers on XiaoHongShu. So everything we're posting about here, even though we're talking about your classes, the way that it's being perceived on XiaoHongShu, like the way you're presenting it, is why they should follow you on XiaoHongShu. So that's a great question. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. So do not mention in your bio, like, I offer classes like this. Don't list out like a list of classes you offer. Don't directly mention your classes specifically. Partly because it puts off people from following you. It just comes across very salesy anyway. And people don't want to be directly sold to if they've never heard of you before. But also because it's against the XiaoHongShu terms and conditions to be doing like hard sales in your profile. Like, it won't let you post it. If you try and put that kind of content in your profile bio, it will usually the AI will flag it up immediately and be like, yeah, you can't post this. It won't let you post it. But yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. We'll talk more as well tomorrow when we talk about the posting strategy. We'll talk a bit more about the kind of content you should be posting in order to reach the right kind of people and convert them into followers and then get them across your WeChat before you sell. And we'll talk more about that in our posting strategy tomorrow. Nigel's saying, lots of homework to do cake. I always need cake. Cake is the solution to everything. I'm a big fan of cake as the motivating factor for doing homework for sure. Yes, lots of homework to do. But hopefully this video has walked you step by step through all of that. I know it's taken us like a whole hour to do it, but you can always just watch back through, pause at each point, and make those changes on your profile as you go. Okay, Diane's saying, thanks a lot. I have to go now. No worries. Thank you for joining us. I hope you found this helpful. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in. Vicky's saying, I'm sure we could do this for 2 hours and still have more questions. Yeah, this is, as you can tell, I have a tendency to ramble. Today I tried to go quite quickly, so I apologize if there's less of the like audience engagement kind of questions early on because I was like, let's power through. But yeah, I do have a tendency to talk a lot, and there's always more to talk about, which is why we have a whole 5-day bootcamp rather than like one webinar. I feel everyone's saying, thank you for all the tips. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. I hope you found this helpful. It's the same saying, thank you for joining us. Nigel as well. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap everything up here because I think we're coming to the end of things and we're getting lots of thank you messages, which is always great to see. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad you guys found this helpful. If anyone's struggling with any aspects of your profile, by the way, just pop a message in our Facebook group, which is the WeChat and XiaoHongShu for online ESL teachers Facebook group. The link is in the course if you're struggling to find it. Pop a question in the Facebook group and it's a great place to chat and discuss ideas about these kind of things. Like, how should I phrase my transformation statement? We could spend like ages talking about. So yeah, post that in the Facebook group and I'm sure we'd all love to help you. Okay, we've got a quick question here from Bella. I'm not sure what I understood in terms of writing as a call to action. Okay, call to action is basically follow me for something. So why should they follow you? So you might actually want to wait till tomorrow to properly optimize that if you haven't put together a posting strategy or anything yet and you haven't got any ideas of what you'll post. But essentially, why should someone follow you? Like, follow me for IELTS examiner tips was, I think, one of the examples we had earlier. That's your call to action. Call to action is just sort of marketing speech for what you want people to do next. And say, thank you, Katie. We love you. Love you too. Thank you for joining us. Fantastic. Nikki's got a question here. Is there a foolproof way of uploading videos onto Redbook? It takes forever to work out how to upload them each time. Is that the like they're buffering and not uploading, or is that like the editing side? So if it's like not uploading really slowly, it could just be an internet connection issue. I know that's not the answer we're looking for, but it could just be an internet issue. I've usually found that posting from your computer is better for videos. If you've got a large file, the app's not very good at handling really large file sizes. So I think there's a time limit on how long videos can be on the app, whereas on the computer you can post, I think it's 20 or 30-minute long videos because they can accept much bigger file sizes. Don't post long videos. It's a relatively short video platform anyway. But the point is you can upload bigger things on the computer version. So if you're struggling to upload, like the text is not uploading the video, then maybe try it on the computer rather than using the phone app. That could be one solution. If your challenge is more on the editing side, in the online course platform, the link in the description, and I think you already registered, but if you're not registered, links in the description. I've added a bonus lesson to the online course platform that shows you a bit about editing, like how you can edit within XiaoHongShu in terms of the video editing side. Things like adding captions and adding little stickers and adding text and things like that to your videos. There's a little bonus lesson in the online course platform about that, because trying to do it in a live is a bit difficult because it takes me absolutely ages. But I've done a detailed guide that works you step by step, showing you everything. So have a look at that. Okay, Judy's saying thank you for joining us. Thank you. Always helpful. Good to know. Thank you. Lots of thank yous. Awesome. Okay, got a question. Oh, Nikki's following up. No, it's every time I do it from my mobile. Like the uploading is the issue. I'm suspecting this could be an internet speed issue, potentially. So make sure you've got very good internet connection when you're uploading the video. You might also want to downsize the size of your video, depending on how you're making the video in the first place. If you've got like a really good camera on your phone, it might be recording in like super high definition, in which case it's a very large file size. But on XiaoHongShu itself, it doesn't need super high definition. So you might also just want to tweak your video settings when you're recording on your phone, or if you're using an external editing app, make sure you're exporting it in like reasonable definition, but not super high definition. It could be a file size internet speed related issue, perhaps. Yeah. You're welcome. Sorry, it's hard to diagnose issues when we're just chatting like this, but hopefully that gives you a few pointers and things to look into. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a speed issue. So you either reduce the file size so you can upload it more quickly, or you get better internet, in which case it will upload more quickly. So yeah. Okay, Bella's saying, see you tomorrow. Yes, see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, our session is all about planning your posting strategy and putting together a posting schedule and making sure you've got a plan to make it so much easier to post because you've got it basically on autopilot, everything planned out. So do make sure you join us for tomorrow's session. Okay, I'm going to wrap things up now because I know people got things to do and it's also 11 p.m. my time, so I'm going to get going. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Just a final reminder again, if you haven't already, I'm not going to keep doing this, it's just for the first few sessions, but final reminder again, make sure you've signed up on the website to access all of the materials from the bootcamp, including the replays, email reminders, the workbook, the social media guide, certificate, opportunity to win bonuses, all of that. It's free. Register on the website if you haven't already. And these are the awesome prizes you could win. Please make sure that you do your best throughout this bootcamp, particularly implementing stuff. And once you've made your profile and things, post it in the Facebook group and you can win entries into the prize draw to win all of these amazing things, including coaching, including courses, and some discounts as well. I just realized my face is covering it. Well done, me. Okay, let's put my face over here. So yes, all of these amazing things you can win. So please register on the website and do your best to implement things and engage throughout the bootcamp to win. I'm going to shut up now. I'll move on. We talked about this last time. All of the information about how to win is in the online course platform. It's also on the screen here if you want to pause and look at it later. But yeah, let's wrap things up. So thank you so much, everyone. No more sales messages from me. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found this helpful. If there's any follow-up questions, or if you're watching the replay and therefore you can't ask questions live, just pop your question either in the description, in the comments under the video, you can ask questions, or the Facebook group is a great place to ask questions. So feel free to ask. I'm always happy to help. And yeah, do your homework, and I'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place tomorrow. And we're going to be learning about creating a powerful posting strategy. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or evening or whatever. I'm going to go to bed. My energy levels have gone a bit crazy, so I'm going to calm down and go to bed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. So have a great day.